ever worried that you might be the cool kid you wear the latest fashions on top of all the trends? Or have you ever worried you were too much in the mainstream, always so generic, more normal than your friends? Well, we've devised a test to put to rest your fears. There's no need to panic if you lend us your ears. Tonight you can sleep easy after all that you've heard, cause if you like the show, then you're probably a nerd. Oh, Canon, it's all. With Tyler, Phil, and Boris. Oh, Canon, it's all in Canon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the It's Canon podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things geek, the podcast where we talk about all things movies, all things video games, all things books, all things toys, all things Star Wars, all things Mandalorian, all things hats, all things water bottles, all things fans, all things microphones, all things cell phones, and the best part of it all is that it's all in canon. As always, we're your hosts. I'm Boris, and laughing along is Phil.
That's quite an opening.
It is indeed. And Tyler.
Look, if you've been watching Big Mouth, you know the importance of hats being in canon.
I love that show, FYI.
It's such a good show.
That is
Oh my
intelligent
God.
comedy, my friend.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to get more into that later this week.
Yes,
/
we
this
are.
month.
Yeah, later this month.
Later this month, yeah. I guess it's December now.
Yeah,
It
it is
is
December
December.
6th officially, guys, which means that in 8 days, Monday, December 14th, we are going to start our 12 days of Christmas, which is going to lead us right into December 25th, which is Christmas Day, for our Christmas extravaganza. Essentially, what we're going to do on that episode is we are each going to give the other two something to watch, and we're going to do a review of all of that.
Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
deciding mine later today. I'm down to between two things, and I'm going to do a pros cons list.
I love it.
I'm literally just like, do I give you guys a polished turd or do I try to give you something else?
That was exactly where I'm like, there's a really bad thing that I want to talk with like I want to do an episode on this bad thing. Or I can be nice to them.
Yeah, that's where we're at, guys. That is exactly where we're at. And before that, starting on December 10th, for the next 10 days, we're going to be talking about something. Star Trek Lower
Oh.
Decks.
Oh.
Oof.
Woof
I-
indeed.
I know Tyler's feelings on this. To be honest, I've only watched the first 3 at this point.
You're a fool.
Yeah, and I tapped out after the 3rd, but it doesn't bother me as much as I think it does some other
Oh
people.
my god, it causes me so much pain, and we're gonna go into why. We're gonna go into why. I
We're
don't
gonna
want
go
to get
into
it
why
now.
on the
Like,
shows.
you're starting to get you're tapping the gas, and I'm starting to get riled up, and I'm like, no, not now.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. And then on December 24th, Phil and Tyler are going to take a break. Matt and I are going to take over because we are going to have our Christmas special that day. We're going to do 2 reviews from the vault. I don't know what they are yet. Similar to what we're doing on this show, I'm going to be giving Matthew something to watch. Matt's going to give me something to watch, and we're going to talk all about it on our Christmas special. So that's how we're going to do our 12 days of Christmas. It's going to be 10 days of Star Trek Lower Decks, 1 day of wrestling talk, and then 1 day of us possibly hating each other for the rest of our lives.
So I have I want to go to the backstory for a second. And I just want to ask Boris something. Did you know I have a bronze medal in wrestling?
No. Actually, I
Yeah.
feel like this did come up back in the day.
I used to be a competitive wrestler. Like, that's a thing I used to do. I was wondering if we've ever had that conversation.
I feel like we did, but never on air. I feel like that was something that we talked about when we met off of Craigslist,
Yeah.
and none of us murdered
Yeah.
one another.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle has disappeared, so maybe you murdered him.
You'll never know.
Like, he left Facebook. He doesn't answer emails. Like, Kyle disappeared.
Yeah, he flat out disappeared.
I hope he's doing well.
Kyle, if you're out
I
there,
don't know.
I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing safe.
A
Reach
series
out.
of roasts in Boris's chest freezer.
Oddly
Oh,
specific.
His cheeks for guanciale.
Oh man. Oh man.
Oh, what's the first thing we're talking about this week? Because otherwise we're just gonna get stuck.
The first thing we're gonna be talking about. Oh, guys, it's been a week. Phil, what have you been doing this past week?
You know what? Time is just
Slipping.
melting in this
Slipping.
pandemic. Animal Crossing, man. It's been Animal Crossing. Like, that's been my pillar. It started snowing on the island this week, which I don't understand the whole point of moving to a tropical island to get frickin' seasons like they are. And I really kicked the crap out of the turkey day that they had there. I had all the mats, all the materials in my storage, so I could just produce the pumpkins and the mushrooms and make the souffles and get the turkey chef all happy, which I thought would be more fun to actually kill the turkey and cook them. But I'm upgrading all my bridges now. It's really compelling, guys.
What do you mean? It's a cooking mini game now?
Oh no, they do
No.
seasonal events. All right, so the Thanksgiving event was there was a chef that came in and he needed an assistant. So then you go out and you procure different things. And for the month of October, there was mushrooms randomly growing on the island. So I now know enough not to sell the mushrooms because the money's not going to do me any good in the game because I just have a lot of it. So I actually store them and then they come up at the end of the month. Like this month, it's going to be Santa Claus is coming, right? And it's going to be something about toys. That's going to be the big push, right? So you're going to need to, on probably December 25th or thereabouts, help Santa deliver gifts to all the island residents. I'm sure there's going to be something like that. So it's very seasonal as far as that goes. Like in August, there was fireworks every Sunday night and shooting star nights and things like that. There's all these little random events throughout the game to keep you logging in. It's
So I'm
basically
going to
just
sound
a
very
huge grind.
old here, but is KK still in it? Like, I don't even know what I don't know about this game anymore.
Oh my gosh, KK is still in it. Yes, he comes by. Like the whole mantle of the game is you got to get KK Slider to deliver a concert for the island. All right, so you have to pretty up the island and get the residents to a happy point in order to attract this stupid dog to come and play his stupid songs. And then you have the freaking it's the most disgusting sound I've ever heard in my life when this
Ting,
dog
ting.
thing sings.
Ting,
And-
ting, ting.
Yeah, it's not real language or a song. It's just an annoyance.
Yeah.
And they play the credits every time. And then he comes back to my freaking town every Saturday night. So I have to log in after 6 o'clock in order to attend the concert again, hear his awful music, and get
Yeah.
the stamp in my book. Because once you do it like 100 times, you get another stamp. It's just
What does the stamp get for you?
nothing. It's just a stamp in my freaking book.
Why are you doing this?
I just put it on myself to play it for 1 year. It happened at the beginning of the pandemic. I got the game on day one from my local microplay, and then everything closed the next day. And I'm like, holy crap. And then I actually, for a while, felt good playing Animal Crossing. I still don't feel bad. If I really thought it was bad, I'd stop playing it. It's just very grindy, and I've got the grind down to 20 minutes each day.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, it's not as bad as Destiny or anything like that.
I didn't mean entirely why you're doing this. I meant why are you doing the KK bit? Like,
Oh, I don't. It's just become a novelty now. It's like, what kind of terrible song are they going to string on me? Because I always let
Wait.
him choose the song.
oh, there's different songs. Oh gosh.
Yeah. So, and then he gives you a copy of the song that you can put in your radio players at home, if so desired.
That you hate.
That I hate, so I never put them in. Yeah, that's Animal Crossing. And last night I ate movies.
Oh yeah,
No.
you sent me a picture of that. I questioned your sanity. How's your ass doing?
Oh, it's good, man. The cow tipper is definitely a little less. I had too many pickles when I had the cock smoker. The cock smoker and the pickle fuckers were just too much for me. It was too much tang. But the cow tipper and the hater tots, they went pretty good. They were pretty good. So it was like veal almost like, and it was like in buttermilk, deep fried, two
nice.
slices of 4-ounce veal. And then I learned to take the pickles off because those things are a little bit too into me.
I'm laughing at the fact right now that we just finished, all cards on the table. We record our Mandalorian episode before we record the news, and we had a child on this week, so it was like no swearing. Stay on point, be nice, and here we are talking with Phil's ass, his shits.
Yeah,
He's
chilly.
The cock smoker.
Yeah, Phil's backed up.
The pickle fuckers. I'll just tell you, it was an experience. Like the cock smoker and pickle fuckers were responsible for our Lego Christmas special and the destruction because I was going through heartburn like you wouldn't believe after that. But the cow tipper sat rather well with me. I've not had any cow tipper issues coming at the washroom end.
Oh my god!
Knock on wood.
And on that note, Tyler, what have you been up to this week?
I have been locking the store down, prepping for either I'm taking time off this week to play Cyberpunk. My boss, I requested time off for the first time in like over a year at this point for playing Cyberpunk. And I have literally booked this time off 3 times because this game keeps getting fucking delayed. And I'm prepping for lockdown. No, it's not going to be out. It's either not going to come out on Thursday, or it's going to be atrocious, or it's going to be like, oh yeah, the patch breaks your PS5, and then you get shot.
Well, you know what? We're going to talk about it. We're going to take a couple minutes to talk about this because, Tyler, I feel like you've lost out because there are people already playing this game.
I'm aware, and I've been avoiding spoilers and stuff.
Yeah. Apparently, Best Buy was the most notorious for sending out this game early for people who have pre-ordered. So, as Phil put on our chat, he's probably right that, the factory workers or whomever saw the original street date on the boxes and they just sent it out without knowing any better.
Oh, yeah. Well, I saw that, and out of curiosity for the show, I popped by Best Buy. And they have all the posters up with one of the old release dates.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know that that's what happens with a lot of the toys and whatnot because they have do not open or do not release to shelves before this date. So they mark it on the box. So the guy in the back room or the woman, whoever's doing the shelf stocking or delivering the orders, mailing them out, they don't know the controversy or the delays behind the games. But we do know that game went gold, which means they started printing discs.
Yeah.
Right. So they have to get ahead of all this. And the logistics, like we're freaking out over the logistics of a vaccine right now because it's so complicated. These are things that they have to worry about. Millions of copies have to get shipped and warehoused and timed, right?
That was like one of the issues with going gold and having these discs printed and shipped to the stores and then delaying the game once more. Yeah. This is the exact issue, especially that a lot of stores, it's not that they're doing this on purpose. It's just they don't know better. And especially with certain areas being locked down right now in the world, this is just going to happen. Go ahead, Tyler.
What? The other side being, if you're shipping, because it seems like some of them are just being shipped out. I can't blame them for shipping out early, being like, we'd rather piss off the publisher at this point and deal with them than fans if this is late.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, because I've noticed already, like, if you log on to Amazon, at least here in the GTA, there's no more one-day shipping. Everything's going to take, at the minimum, 2 days. Most likely 3 days.
Yeah,
so the Christmas delays are already starting. So Best Buy, who tends to use, like, regular government-issued mail for sending out stuff, they want to make sure that stuff is going to get to you on time.
Yep. And you know what? I had a problem last week where Best Buy, I ordered something on, around the Black Friday thing. And it wasn't an item. It was a fan that I wanted because I just wanted some air movement and my old one was dying. So I ordered this fan and it didn't get delivered. And it kind of cheesed me off because they said that they tried to deliver it and nobody answered the door.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's one of
And
those.
there was no requirement to have a signature. They were just supposed to drop the package off. So I called BS on it. They said Purelator tried to deliver your package, which they're already off the Amazon train at this point. They're subcontracting.
Yeah.
So and then I called Amazon and I got a really nice representative. The dude was just like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I'm like, "I'm sitting here in my living room. I know there was nobody there was not an attempted delivery because there's no tag on the door. There's nothing, and I can hear when somebody's walking up to my door." So I'm like, "This never even was an attempt." And the guy's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," all this stuff. He called Purelator, and Purelator basically said that, "Oh, well, no, we tried. We tried." The next day, the Purelator guy showed up. He dropped the package off, and he asked me about it. And he's just like, "Oh, yeah, we subcontracted it to another company because we're so busy." And they obviously didn't do this. Like, he was pissed off because he's like,
Yeah.
Our the subcontractor subcontracted another person to do this.
Yeah.
That's
Oh yeah,
how busy.
it's a mess right now. I mean, I live in an apartment building, and it's regularly people will just leave stuff in the front lobby.
Yeah.
Like every day, there's like a pile of packages now, and that's like at times thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
Yep.
Like
imagine
we
it's
had
a PS5.
one of our neighbors ordered a brand new camera that we knew about because we talked about them, and I picked it up and I took it to them because they're just 2 doors down for that very reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
right
for
now
you.
it's just a crazy time. But at the very least, Amazon is pretty good at dealing with this stuff. What
Yep.
was your resolution?
They told me that it was going to come in by Thursday, and it came in on Tuesday.
Yep, there
The
you go.
Purelator were back, so I was very happy. And Amazon gave me an additional $10 off on my
Yeah.
account. They said, "Well, we're going to give you a gift card for
Yeah.
$10."
That's
So
That's what I
guess-
mean. Amazon's at the end of the day, they're pretty good about this stuff. With people getting Cyberpunk 2077 early, the developers and CD Projekt Red is begging players, do not stream before the official release. I think that's
Yeah.
a pretty fair request.
Yeah, I mean, the other side of it being, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but this is really starting to challenge one of those things of you have no legal right to stream that material.
right.
Like legally you don't. And I've had this argument with people in the fan fiction community of you have no right to this. I think they should let you. I think it makes sense to let you, but there's no legal right attached.
That's the thing. What I want is very different from what's actually legally allowed.
Yeah, but that's the way Star Wars do it, right? Like the way George always did it. He's like, "I'll let the fans play with the property all that they want, as long as number one, they're not making money from it, and number two, it's not pornographic in nature." Like he's just like, "I don't want to see Princess Leia getting gangbanged or something." You know what I mean? Like he's just like, if any fan writes that or publishes it, I'm gonna go after them legally to take
Yeah.
it down. But he's like, if you're just gonna speculate on something, whatever in the universe, then go ahead, write it, publish it, record it, do whatever you want with it. As long as nobody's making money off of it, you're fine in my books. So I think that's the way the streaming services look at things. But it is interesting that they wrote, this piece where it was like, oh, is it delayed again? No, it's just telling us don't screw around with it.
Yeah.
And the thing
it's
about this early release, though, is that people are playing and streaming this game without the day one update. So a lot of people I've seen, I don't know, I didn't read any spoilers, but I just saw like headlines and quick things, my thoughts about the game. And people are bitching and complaining. And guess what? You're not playing the official version. You're playing what was approved not to break your system, essentially.
Yeah, this is September.
Yeah.
This was a September release.
Exactly. 3 months
this
later.
This is the last reviewer one, kind of.
And
Yeah.
even then,
Yeah.
day one update is going to be 43 gigabytes.
Yeah.
Jeez. Wow. And it's already like 80 gigabytes. The
Yeah,
game,
so
the core game.
So, Phil, we're going to be playing this game.
I'm still, man, I swing on this. Like I want to go PS4 for it because I think that it's a guaranteed experience because I've been farting around with my 4K Chromecast. All right, I got another batch of new games and whatnot. It doesn't want to broadcast in 4K, and I have it plugged directly into my router. So it's more than capable. I'm testing my speeds, and I'm getting over 60 megabytes a second download, and I'm getting 10 megs upload. So I'm like, their classification is 35 megabytes per second for 4K. So I'm like, I'm well within that space. So I'm a little bit apprehensive to go on Stadia because there is a bonus with Stadia that they're going to send me another Founders Kit, which I don't know that I need that, but it would be nice to be able to re-gift it or something like that to somebody who might want it. Like it's like a free $100, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just like, oh, that's kind of a nice feature, and the Chromecast is really good. So there's useful stuff, whether or not they use it or not. So I'm thinking that there's a bonus there, but if it's not going to broadcast in 4K, then I don't know that I'm going to do that. I'd rather have it be running off a machine here.
Especially when you have, the tech to run something 4K. It's kind of sad that you're kind of being limited in that sense.
Yeah. It's just, and it's out of my control.
Yeah.
And that's the part where I'm like, I can fiddle with my PS4 Pro. I can fiddle with when I get my PS5 because it's future upgradable. And then do I lose features on Stadia or do I gain them?
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions that I have about how this will work on Stadia. And it's a big deal for Stadia because this is the first time they're getting a game on launch, I think.
Yep.
So it's a big deal for them. I really think in looking at the Stadia community that this is going to be make or break. This is going to define whether or not they go for it. And I'm pretty confident as well that if Stadia decide to deep six a project, they're probably going to refund the money for any purchase games because it's Google and they have deep enough pockets. And if there's only 10 of us, then they don't care, right? Or they give you some kind of rebate. It's not like Google doesn't do good things for me. They sent me a free Founders Kit because I subscribe to their music service. They send me free Nests. They send me, like, they see me subscribing and expanding my Google universe, and they shower me with free stuff.
Yeah.
And they do that for all of their customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's a good company as far as that goes, and I think that they do have a conscience when it comes to them killing these products off. It's just they're ruthless about it.
Yeah. All right, so you know what? We can talk about video games all day, and that's exactly what we're going to do later this week. Midweek, Wednesday, we're going to give you a special all about video games because we have a lot more about video games to talk about. There's been a lot of moves and changes in the video game world vaccine. So, from the Silent Hill Gravity Rush director forming a new studio, things going on at BioWare,
oh my God.
Days Gone writer leaving, Kojima projects, rumored projects. A lot of stuff are going on in the video game world, so we're going to be bringing you a special this week all about video games, and we're going to top it off with our picks for the Video Game Awards 2020, which happen later this week. So you can look for that episode midweek where we're going to be talking about the broader video game world and our picks and preview for the 2020 Video Game Awards. All right. Moving on.
Woo.
So COVID-19 has brought a lot of new things, new difficulties. In regards to streaming services, it's for sure going to change the game. And I think Disney has already been playing around. They put Mulan up for the advanced streaming, which costs you $35. Debate.
It's free now.
I was literally going to say that now you can actually stream Mulan for free. And they're a part of when they bought Fox, they also got Hulu, and there was a clear distinction between what was going to go on Disney Plus. Disney Plus was always going to be geared towards PG, material. They had Hulu, which was going to be more PG-13 and above. But right now, there's a lot of rumors heating up that Disney is going to be merging Disney Plus and Hulu into one super streaming platform. What are your thoughts on that?
I think they want all the money.
I'm surprised.
This is really, like, I think we recorded this once and we lost it on the Great Crash. But there was a thing that John Campea did that I saw. He had a filler episode. He had a back catalog episode because he was traveling one day, and it was basically him making the argument that Disney are way ahead of Netflix in terms of profitability from streaming, because Netflix's model, like, unfortunately, or like what he revealed was that about 70% of viewers are watching archived data, like they're watching old shows, and those old shows are things that Netflix has to pay for. And that's where Disney was brilliant in getting 20th Century Fox, because now they own the library. So they're not spending millions and billions of dollars to try and buy old material. They own it. They're not paying that fee. And because they're already at like 75 million subscribers, they're really trying to get that number up and up and up, because it means that basically Disney Plus is going to be able to account for a huge percentage of the bottom line for Disney by 2023. They could be making billions of dollars off of Disney Plus. And right now, it's absolutely a huge play, and this pandemic has accelerated that modeling system.
Yep. This also opens doors to shows like Daredevil coming back. So earlier this week, Disney got the TV rights for Daredevil back from Netflix, because Netflix hasn't done anything with the property in a few years. So the properties are starting to make their way back to Disney. So there's an active movement to get Daredevil back on TV, and this possible merger of Hulu and Disney Plus is a perfect location for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it behooves Disney to just like ask Netflix what'll this cost for us to get those back in canon, and do it.
Yep.
Like, it ends up being this weird vestigial arm otherwise, and for how much people loved Daredevil, especially for the most part.
For the most part.
Yeah, right. Like they fell off a little bit. Jessica Jones got them good numbers.
Yeah.
I think Luke Cage had a decent long tail, if I remember correctly. It never had his big first runs, but it had a decent long tail. And Iron Fist happened. But yeah, like I think just, buying those and trying to do something with them, I think it's a decent investment. I think that, Disney has more money than God. So why not just back the dump truck up to Netflix?
Yeah.
Burn
Really,
it
Netflix
out on
at this
the show.
point, Netflix needs the money too. We know that Netflix is hurting for money in the grand scheme of things. We know that Netflix original productions are wasting a lot of their money. So Netflix isn't as stable of a company as we think. That's something that I would really love to take a deeper look at their numbers, and kind of like, and it's hard to get concrete numbers from Netflix, but I think we can get enough out there to piece something together, because Netflix, I'm telling you, I think that they're not going to last as long as people think, especially now that they are losing streaming rights to big shows. So for example, last year in the States, they lost the streaming rights to Friends, to The Office. They went to Peacock and HBO Max respectively. Here in Canada, they're losing Friends on December 31st. That's going to Crave. They did gain the streaming rights to Seinfeld. So Seinfeld is moving from Crave to Netflix here in Canada. So it's just weird trying to keep up. But my point being that, like, with Netflix injecting more money to keep major shows, as Phil mentioned, a lot of these streaming services get their money off of back catalog and old shows. And making original content is very expensive. So I'd kind of like to take a look at the state of Netflix and Netflix productions.
Yeah, I'd be happy to jump into those numbers, but on a large scale, I fully expect it to be bought out or merged with someone within 3 years.
Apple. My money's always been on Apple.
Probably Apple, possibly WB.
Yeah.
There's a couple others that, like, maybe.
Yeah, but I think those are the two main contenders. WB, Warner Brothers, Viacom, or sorry, not Viacom, AT&T, they're putting money into WB, DC, and all those properties. And this week, guys, they dropped a bombshell on the entertainment world. Earlier this week, Warner Brothers announced that Warner Brothers movies will hit HBO Max simulcast with theatrical releases in all of 2021. And this is funny because all last week there was a lot of rumors and speculation looking back at the news. Earlier in the week there were reports that several WB movies were still aiming for a theatrical release. Tons of sources were saying that, Godzilla, movies like that, Dune and those movies, they were still going to go to the theaters. But later on in the week, Thursday, it dropped that, the decision was made that all of these are going to be hitting HBO Max and theatrical releases at the same time. So the number one question is, the first movie that's coming out is Wonder Woman 84 on Christmas Day. And for those of you who think you can buck the system be careful because all free trials of HBO Max are going to end before Christmas Day. Yeah, so it's going to cost you at least $15 a month to watch Wonder Woman 1984. And then this leads us to the international rights. And this is why I love this subject, and it hurts my head at the same time because we have to look at the distribution. We have to look at contracts literally country by country. Because we're based in Canada, let's talk about Canada. Well, we don't have HBO Max. There is a content contract between Crave and HBO Max that essentially says that any original content that comes into HBO Max, Crave gets the rights to them. So things like Flight Attendant, things like Love, etc. Shows like that, original movies, Crave gets them. With these movies, because it's Warner Brothers Studio, there's no contract for those. So here in Canada, the only way that you can actually watch Wonder Woman 84, the only way that you'll be able to watch Dune, the only way that you'll be able to watch any theatrical release next year is going to a dank and moist theater. Having said that, this is pure speculation on my end. Earlier in the month or last month, and this may have been cut off in the great crash of 2020, Cineplex and Universal cut a deal where they were going to move their exclusivity window from X amount of days to 17 days. Essentially, a movie will be in theaters for 17 days, 3 weekends, before it can start streaming. So I feel that we're going to be seeing a similar contract like that with Warner Brothers, or I can see Crave scooping in and trying to cut a deal with Warner Brothers to get those movies on HBO Max. Crave did release a statement late Friday talking about this, and they essentially said, there's not much we can do. There is exclusivity deals with shows and originals, and HBO Max originals, but we do not have access to their movies. We have access to their movies after the fact, but there's still an exclusivity window with Cineplex and the movie theaters here in Canada. So there's going to be a lot of moving parts still. There's going to be a lot of changing news, but as of things stand today, in Canada, the only way that you can watch any Warner Brothers movies or any movie is via Cineplex in your dank and moist theater.
Yep.
Ew. And I know there's controversy as well in the States with AMC theaters. They're complaining about this as well because they're saying that they're getting squeezed out. But it's kind of ironic because they're the ones that cut a deal to do this exact same thing on their side. And now they're crying about this. And I'm like, it's a shrewd bit of business. But you know what? The times have changed. And I think it's accelerating the death of the movie theater.
Yep.
It's that simple. Like, this just solidifies that the movie experience is going to be an event, right? It's going to be, you're going to be getting into these VIP cinemas and going for drinks, dinner, movie. It's going to be $150 a viewing by the time you get out of that place. That's what your pocketbook hit's going to be. But you're going to go, man, I sat on a great love seat and I watched this movie in this wonderful environment. But at the same time, people can stream it at home in their own home theaters or on a device or whatever. And it's just a sign of the times, man.
Yep.
Said it.
I'm happy for it. It makes antisocial people like me. I don't like the dank and moist theaters. I don't like being in those environments. I did go to the mall this week.
Oh,
and
no.
Yeah, it was I was fearing a lockdown in my region, and I needed to pick something up. Well, I didn't need to. I picked up the new Mandalorian book, but there was only one left in stock at the store that was in the mall. So I went there, and I was okay for about 20 minutes. I was like, as I was getting in to the mall, and I was being very poignant about my visitation, but I was definitely frantic. By the time I was leaving, I was like feeling like I could run to my car. Like, that's enough of people. I don't want to be around people right now. And I can't imagine sitting in a movie theater. Like we could talk about. I know it's a meme for us, dank and moist. But man, it's air circulation, all this stuff now is so in the forefront of my mind. It occupies so much space, that paranoia and fear.
Yeah.
It's not healthy.
What I can see honestly happening with movie theaters, so AMC was complaining, Regal Cinemas was also complaining, and I get it, I understand, but the studios are losing out, if just as much, if not more, by having these movies just sit in a vault waiting for these places to open. Like, it's a business at the end of the day. Everyone needs to make money. So Warner Brothers and Universal, they're all going to look out for themselves first. Like, I'm sorry, AMC, I'm sorry, Regal. Like, you guys are just in a very tight business that doesn't have a lot of wiggle room, that is not pandemic proof, and then these companies have these streaming services, which does have the ability to get them out in public. And yeah, they're looking out for themselves, but that's kind of the world that we live in right now. Like, I do feel bad for the movie theaters, but unfortunately, there's not much that they can do. Like, these big studios are not going to wait to release these movies. Having said that, do you guys think, and I'm going to throw this to Tyler right after I bring up this point, with the budgets of movies just being astronomical, and the possibility of these movies being streaming only or streaming first, with the movie theater kind of getting less revenue and not as much attention in the theater, do you think that the movie studios like Disney will make another MCU, will make another Endgame, knowing that they're not going to make as much money as they did going streaming first?
Well, I think that's a good point, in that it's going to lead to a re-examination of how we look at and monetize movies. I mean, one of the amazing things about Star Wars has always been that more money was made off merchandising than was ever made off of ticket sales. And I think we're going to see that kind of thing coming up with properties in the future. We're going to give preference is going to be given even more to properties that have other ways of monetizing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, for example, I don't know how you continue to make an Avatar movie when did that make any money in merchandising and related sales?
Who knows?
Versus freaking Avengers sells figures and sells comics and sells books and sells stickers and sells jackets. It sells so much. So I don't know. I think that we are going to see the incentives change.
Yeah, like a movie like Tenet, for example, or any Christopher Nolan film, that's meant to be watched in the theater. We've had this argument many times before. We're not going to have it again. But the point that I'm trying to bring up right now is, a movie like Tenet, will movies like that still exist? Will they still be made? Will anyone give them the money to be made if there's no theatrical release per se?
I think there will eventually. I think we are going to see a change, but I mean, it's almost like every time movies change, right? Like we had this back when movies became color of what movies you couldn't make changed, but we didn't get westerns for a while, but that didn't mean that we didn't have action movies.
Yeah, I think, like what I had previously said, the movie-going experience will still be there. It's just going to take a different form. Yeah. It's still going to be able to attract that element, right? And there's going to be other offshoots, maybe not as big, that still follow the old format. I can also see places like Disney really capitalizing off of this because they have tools like the volume that they can now cheaply do effects and deliver that endgame movie and merchandise, as Tyler's pointed out, that whole multifaceted thing to justify going for it. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's gone, and maybe the movies change a little bit, though, in terms of how over the top it is. But I think that's an inevitability. Like when you talk to kids now and you ask them who their favorite movie star is, a lot of them will scratch their head and they go, no, I watch YouTube.
Yeah.
They'll tell you, like, look at that fight the other week. You had Mike Tyson fighting. I'm not a boxing fan. I know Mike Tyson because of
Jr.
Yeah, but what was the title fight? It was a freaking YouTuber.
Yep, it was Logan Paul Logan against Nate Robinson.
Yeah, like what the hell kind of world are we living in right now? Like when you think that that's the title fight, and and the big draw for the Tyson thing was that Snoop Dogg narrated the fight.
Yeah.
Narrated.
Like, yeah, well,
Yeah, he was
oh,
the
man,
commentator.
Commentated.
Narrated. I love that.
I know he's a
But
narrator.
I just think of all the Snoop Dogg narration things, right?
Yeah. It's funny that you
He's
said that.
stoned and talking. So I just think that it just shows how weird the world is, pandemic or not.
Yeah.
It's accelerating the weird factor.
What I can honestly see happening is that we're going to see not necessarily the death of these mega corporations owning theaters and us having these cineplexes with 20,000 theaters. I think what we're going to see is more specialty one-off mom and pop theaters, like corner theaters that will seat like 30, 40 people max. And it's, as you said, Phil, it's going to be an experience. You're going to be able to get drinks. You're going to get dinner right before in the restaurant attached. So on Bloor Street here in Toronto, there's the Paradise Cinema, which it used to be in one of those old-timey theaters, but now they've opened up a wine bar and a beautiful dinner restaurant. And what else is in there? A theater. So I could see more of those types of places kind of taking precedence. It's kind of similar to the Rogers Hot Dogs Theater, where it's smaller in size. It's not mega corporation owned, but they'll be able to put on special events. It's more of a night out rather than kind of like a whatever type experience.
I actually think we're also going to see the death of whatever that rule was. But there's actually like a law or a rule that prevents like Disney from owning their own theaters.
Yes.
And I think you're going to end up with this is a Disney theater or this is a Warner Brothers theater.
Yeah.
I think we're going to head back to that.
I was going to say that as well. Where and then they can control things because it's their property. They'll be able to then bring them the costs. It's no cost to them distributing the content to the theater, and parents get a place to take their kids. We still have to think about that. Like the movie theater was a perfect place for distraction and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, look at my parents. Return of the Jedi, right? It was like, oh, they can just get me to go watch Return of the Jedi, and then they hit the mall or do whatever stuff that they wanted to do without the kid around, right?
Yeah, they hit the mall.
It's like we can go get a meal and not be bothered by the child. That type of thing.
The child.
The
original The Child.
Yes. But that, like that's how I got to see Return to the Jedi like 20 times in the theater.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, that's what's going to happen. It had an extremely long runtime. So I was just like, I'm okay going to the little crappy cinema and sitting in there. It was, fine by me.
The counter being, imagine if it goes this way, of it's like you go and you watch Avengers 5, but when you're done, you got to go out to the gift shop.
Yeah.
Well, it's already like that at Cineplex, right? Like, I'm sorry, I go and I watch Star Wars, and every single cup is a Star Wars cup. Like trying to get my collector money. They got pops at the cinema now, so the Funko Pops are there with the movie you just saw.
That's nothing. I think it goes so much deeper. Like I think it ends up like it's a full store, right? Like it's the Disney store. They got a video game section, and they just like, we're gonna milk your money.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't doubt that.
Like miniature Disney worlds.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Does this further give these mega corporations like Disney, more control over pop culture?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what they want, right? That's their whole theme park premise.
Of course.
Is to control the experience to the point where, these words you're allowed to say, these words you're not. That type of thing. Like the mandate on the employees is to be of a certain appeal, certain, you have to be this way with customers. You have to guarantee this experience. They're just going to extend that. Like it becomes like in concept, it's a great idea, but it can become very creepy.
Well, yeah, if you're Captain Jack, you can't. There's whoever plays Captain Jack regularly gets sexually harassed, and like there's limits of what you're allowed to do to stand up for yourself. Like they're very like, well, you can't make someone feel bad about that, and it's like I'm being physically assaulted. It's too bad.
Yeah, that's a job. We told you.
Sign me up.
Well, usually, I think Captain Jack is usually played by women.
Interesting.
Don't sign me up.
There's a bunch of them that like Chip and Dale are usually women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. That's a tell-all book. I'm sure it exists.
Yeah, nah, because you can't.
No, you can't.
People
You
destroy
sign
NDA.
extreme NDAs, like lifetime NDAs.
Yeah, it's
creepy.
like the closest you get is like on Reddit threads, or
Yeah.
you'll talk to someone.
Yeah, an anonymous type of disclosure. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's creepy. It's creepy. I've never been to Disneyland or Disney World or any of these places. I'd love to go and play around in the Star Wars area, but honestly, though, I'm already getting cringy about how much Galaxy's Edge specific merch there is. There's a specific Lego set out right now. There's a book that's coming out. There's all this stuff that's only accessible to fans who participate, like, or it lures you in to make you want to go. You know, I see the hooks are all over it. I'm like, I gotta stay away from that. I want to be able to turn on my Mandalorian or watch my Star Wars movie, and that's my access point. I don't really need it to be in Florida or California.
I just want a lightsaber. That's what I want. I want one of those park-specific lightsabers.
I've been actually thinking about that too, because like my family owns a timeshare just outside of Disney World that we've owned since the 90s, and
it's Canon
my wife and
podcast live in location.
My wife and I were supposed to go with my family this year, and then COVID happened.
Yep, then COVID happened. All right, guys, we're gonna take a look
that
at
stuff's so expensive, though. I'm gonna put that out there. Those
Oh
lightsabers.
yeah,
and whatnot.
it's spending.
Yeah,
Even
like
even with the
I'm
timeshare,
looking
we're
at
having $3,000.
Yeah, I'm looking at that trip, right? Like, because I had people in my life that were like, "Well, we have to go. You're such a big fan. We have to go. We have to go." And I'm like pricing out that trip, and I'm like,
"Oh yeah,
okay, so it's like $2,000 to get there, get someplace close to it that we can habitate out of, and get access to the park. And then I'm looking at another $1,000 to $2,000 for shopping.
Dude, it's unreal. So a couple of years ago, many years ago now.
Into the park.
Yeah, many years ago now, Phil's brother Gary and myself and a bunch of other people went to Disney World for a wedding. We were there about 6. I was there 6 days, 6 days, 5 nights, and the entire trip by myself, once you included access to the parks and all this stuff, ended up being almost $2,000.
Yeah.
You
got away great.
Well, I was very cheap. Like I was like super cheap. Yeah.
You were probably eating orca meat from SeaWorld.
Well, pretty much. Well, I also
Boris is like, well.
No, but you also have to remember that it was for a wedding, so there were like a couple dinners and stuff like that. So that's where I saved a lot of money. But yeah, like the majority of the money was spent on like this dank and dingy room within the park. So they kind of had like we were in like the budget area. And it was a great experience overall because of the people, but holy crap was it expensive. Luckily, it was like mid-January, so it was empty. We were able to do the parks. I got like the full pass, so I was able to do all the parks for like 72 hours. I had access to every park. And yeah, it was fun, but yeah, it was just fucking crazy. But yeah, it's just like, 2,000, it was more than $2,000 probably. And we're talking 6 years ago, so it was January of 2014 when this happened. But yeah, yeah, it's just crazy.
I just look at those lightsabers and they're not cheap. They're like $400 US.
Yeah.
Like, cheapest you can get out of there.
Yeah, because I collect the Hasbro Black Series ones.
Yeah.
And those ones are at least, they're getting more and more pricey as they get more features now. I almost rebought the Kylo Ren one because the new one has a detachable blade, so you can hilt it. And that one's like $300 now.
Yeah.
$350, something like that. And I'm like, I'm not going to spend the money on it. But like, I have an original master replica Vader, and I managed to get the Toys R Us guy to give me a broken one. I bought it off of him, a broken model. And I took that apart so I could have the hilt for my Vader costume, which I never wear.
Aw.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you're kind of claustrophobic, don't choose Darth Vader as the outfit.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, guys, going back to the HBO Max stuff. These are the movies that are actually going to come out in 2021. So, Suicide Squad, release date of August 6th, 2021. Matrix 4, December 22nd, 2021. Dune, which is like the movie that I'm looking forward to the most, October 21st, 2021. Godzilla vs. Kong, May 21st, 2021. And if you guys remember, Godzilla vs. Kong was the movie that they were actually seeing if there was interest. Netflix was willing to put down $100 million for the streaming rights for this movie. So they opted
I thought
to
it was
eat.
200.
Yeah, no, it was one something, or it was something ludicrous, and
Yeah.
they were willing to not take that just so that they can pour more, reinvest to get more people on HBO Max. Space Jam: A New Legacy, July 16th, 2021.
Right.
The Conjuring, June 4th, 2021. The Many Saints of Newark, which is actually the Sopranos prequel, March 12th, 2021. In the Heights, June 18th, 2021. Judas, the Black Messiah, January of 2021. Mortal Kombat Reboot, January 15th, 2021. A Tom and Jerry movie, March 5th, 2021. King Richard, November 19th, 2021. Little Things, January 29th, 2021. Those Who Wish Me Dead, sometime 2021. Reminiscence, Malignant, Cry Macho, which is Clint Eastwood. All of those sometime in 2021.
What about Clifford the Big Red Dog?
I'm not even going to answer you.
Fair
Sorry. Well, apparently the footage of it got released. I don't know who's making it.
That was a
so I just
Reddit
wanted to
thing.
stump you.
That
Oh,
was a Reddit thing.
really.
So yeah,
A lot of those movies don't do anything for me. Some of
a
them
lot of them are sequels for the most part.
Or
Except, like the
prequels,
movie that I'm looking
or
forward to the
requels.
most are Wonder Woman and Dune.
Wonder
I'm
Woman,
interested
Dune.
in Matrix 4.
Yes,
Matrix
same
4,
here. I am too.
Kong versus Godzilla. Sure. Sign
I'll
me up.
watch that on Netflix eventually.
Yeah, but they're not these. Aside from Dune, these aren't movies. Like, I don't care when I see these movies.
Yeah. The other thing that came out just today is that this exclusivity of being on HBO Max is only 30 days. So you have 30 days to watch the movie on HBO Max before it goes into the ether.
Oh,
Mm.
I don't really care about anything then, because I'm
Yeah,
gonna be
so-
able to buy it or get access to it. Yeah.
Right. But here's the
Granted.
thing. I'm going to throw this out there because this is a conversation I'd love to have. And, it's something that streaming services, when Netflix started, when I got my Netflix subscription back in 2010, one thing I stopped doing so much of is piracy because everything was at my fingertips. Here in Canada, because we're getting screwed because of all these deals and whatnot, piracy is going to go up tenfold, right?
Yep.
I can see this actually being a huge issue in terms of piracy around the world because, well, I'm not going to pay whatever to watch, and this is the theoretical scenario now. On Christmas Day, I'm not going to go to a Dank and Moist theater. I'm going to go on some website, get the BitTorrent for Wonder Woman 84, and watch it at home. I'm not going to spend
This
any
does
money.
sound-
So no one is going to get a cut of my pie.
This does sound like a pirate's delight of like, oh yeah, we're gonna release it
Yeah.
online day in, day of.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you remember, like, before Netflix and whatnot, when we used to get like people with cell phone video and stuff like that, or like
Yeah.
somebody in the theater,
Yep.
and I hated it. And, like, people were like, "Oh, check it out! I got the newest Star Wars and all this," and I'm like,
No.
I can hear somebody coughing. Like, no, this is
Yeah.
not the experience that even for the thrill of having it. I'm just like, no, I don't want it. But now that these digital releases are coming out, I'm like, they're
Yeah.
gonna be perfect.
Yeah, but
Oh,
those
yeah,
old,
day of.
I don't even know how they recorded these back in the day. I just think of that episode of Seinfeld where he becomes like this awesome director of bootleg movies. Anyways, I was on the internet. I was doing some research for a future episode, and I came across footage of various movie theaters in 1982 when Empire Strikes Back came out. When the Luke, I'm your father, blah blah blah, and there was a lot of reaction videos of that line. So it's cool, kind of seeing that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen those too. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. I just think of The
Yeah.
Simpsons. When Marge and Homer are leaving the theater, and he's like, "I can't believe Darth Vader's his dad."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, guys.
Well, and
Spoiler.
here's another thing though with the whole, like, Disney screwed it up last year because they didn't launch in the UK at the same time that they did in North America.
Yeah.
And they delayed The Mandalorian. So that, I think, really promoted piracy as
Yeah.
well. It started because now the fan base is logging into Twitter, which doesn't treat any region as exclusive. It's worldwide participation. And they're seeing these spoilers and they're trying to get ahead of it, and they have no recourse but to do it illegally where they are. And that's where all this really falls down. The more we subdivide these streaming services and the more we basically come out of pocket for people to subscribe to these, or be in regions like Canada where we can't even make the choice to subscribe because of this deal, it benefits piracy. And I'm not saying that I do it or anything like that. I'm just saying it's a concern. It's got to be a huge concern for them because these are hot titles.
Yep.
These are, like, they're really getting great at finding the stuff that we want to watch, willing to pay for, but not willing to put the risk into. And piracy is a great way to get around that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
At it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nutty world, man.
Yep. Do you guys have any last words before we move on / end the show?
Not really. No, that's like perfect. That's a good way to end it on.
It really is.
All right, Phil got it. Piracy's on the comeback.
Piracy's on the comeback. What else is on the comeback? Phil, you can tell us, and our fans can let us know what is on the comeback, or they can complain, or they can call us racist, or they can do whatever they want. And Phil, let them know where they can do this.
Yeah, you can find us on the internet at www.itscanonpodcast.com. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at It's Canon Podcast. You can email us at show@itscanonpodcast.com. You can subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Podbean, Amazon, really anywhere you find podcasts, you're going to find us. If you like what you hear, please click the subscribe button and leave a rate and review. We really do appreciate everybody's ears.
We really do. We really do. It means a lot to me.
Appreciate
it means a lot
your
to everyone.
ears.
We appreciate their ears. I just think of that scene from Men in Tights. Village people, lend me your ears, and everyone throws them the ears.
Yeah.
Little slapstick humor, guys. All right, so
Yeah.
what's coming up today? It's Sunday, so you're listening to the news episode. Tomorrow, it be Monday, where we talk all things Mandalorian, Season 2, Episode 6, Chapter 14, The Tragedy. And we are joined by Big T, Little T, a father-son combo. Listen to me, Phil, and Tyler try not to swear for about an hour and a half. It's a really fun episode. That kid killed me. That kid cracked me up so much.
They were so much fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then later on this week, we are going to be talking all things video games as we give you some video game news and talk about the 2020 Video Game Awards. So that's going to be a fun episode. On Thursday, Matt and I will be recording NXT Talk, but you won't be able to find that at the It's Canon podcast feed. You'll have to go to SundayNightsMainEvent.com, Patreon.com/Sunday Nights Main Event, at SNME Radio on all of the social media. You can find us there. Matt and I did record an episode that's already up where we talk November 1989 as we talk about primetime wrestling and the Survivor Series from 1989. That was a kind of fun episode because I painted a vivid picture of what was going on in 1989. That was a lot of fun. Then next week, we have our usual news and Mandalorian episodes. But then next Monday, we start our 12 days of Christmas. We're going to be reviewing, chatting, shitting on Star Trek Lower Decks. Stay tuned for that one, guys. And that leads us into Christmas, where we talk about all things, well, we'll find out soon, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
He's Phil. He's Tyler.
I am.
I'm Boris. I'm tired. Goodbye.